somewhere I had an image that actually made me think that the solar panels on the Venera 1, I think this is part of it. Or was there a better one? There was a better one somewhere. That the solar panels are not perfectly in the middle of the craft. Here you can see it very clearly, and there as well. They are sort of here. This is a good one. Here you can see clearly the solar panels are situated along one of the edges of the sphere, or not the sphere, the cylinder. It's not in the middle where we would expect it. So it's going to mean that the whole thing will be slightly off-center in terms of mass, the center of mass, but anyway. Then it has the antenna here, and I don't know, you see it's got some instrumentation and things up there, so we'll throw some science experiments on. Then it also has this kind of antenna thing extending from between the two solar panels upwards. Now this is not really an antenna so much, this is a magnetometer and variometers and so on, so it's more science experiments. Let's see, here you can see again the solar panels are more or less on the edge here, and I guess they just sort of swing back to fit into the fairing, but again we can't do that, so we'll just have to make do. Here we can also see the antenna is not again in the middle on the other side, it's sort of off center here. So this will be a bit of a challenge, but I think we can manage. Now in terms of the solar panel, since that's like the next step, these ones are too small, and the ones that we saw, I know it's not a rectangle, it had this weird shape, but this is probably the best that I can do. There's a couple of options now. We can either do it like this, and again this will mean a very strange fairing setup. Sort of like that, so it's the two sides really, but it's not even like that. Maybe could look a bit nicer. It might be a bit too small though. Let's actually just, because the problem is if I put it like this on both sides, this is very big, you know, it's actually a bit too big. So if I put it, oh yes, I'll have to use the mirror symmetry because we have to put it on the side here. And I know this is now a very strange thing, but let's see if I can make it work. Yes, we're going to have lots and lots of clipping here. What if I turn the mirror? No, I can't turn it off again. You see, this kind of effect I want to avoid. Something like that perhaps. I mean, that's not terrible, and it's sitting more or less on the one side. But the other option, which would make it certainly easier for us to get it into the fairing, would be to use the foldable ones, you know. And I think that must be the 2x3s. So if I just go and extend it, now I don't know if those ones could rotate like these ones can. And I don't think they could probably, but again, it's a Kerbal version of a real thing, not the actual real thing. Something like that. Now I know this is a bit unorthodox, but there we go. I like the way that looks. There's just one big problem with this. When the solar panels rotate, which they will, it's gonna, you know, rotate into this thing, which is not the desirable. No, I moved the whole thing. It's not a desirable situation, so we're gonna have to move it a little, not the whole thing. You know, so it has some clearance with the tank there, but it still has to sit on the side. So there's actually another thing that I might try. And as the designs get more and more complex, of course it will become more and more impossible to recreate them exactly. Or, not that I ever did exactly, but you know what I mean, more or less. Why can't I select it? There we go. So then this stuff just clips onto that. There we go. That certainly is a bit better. Now I can just move it in a bit, so that it still more or less sits on the side here, but it can still rotate freely. And it still looks like it's structurally attached, you know? Something like that. Again, I know it's not. Someone else could probably do it much better, but hey, this is my version. Now we need the actual... okay, let's just fix this thing again. And I bet you again, as soon as I stop the video, I'll think of 10 ways to make it better. But I'm gonna try to not do that anymore. Let's see. Yes, the antenna. So there's now, you know, here we have to take a second to really think about things. It would be so easy to take this one, because this folds up very nicely. And it looks pretty much like the one in the picture. It's much too big relative to the craft, I think, but it's the closest visually. But the problem is I don't want to use our most powerful antenna already just to go to Venus, you know, or to Eve, the equivalent. So that's really, you see, if we look at the figures here on the, if I can keep it open here, the data range. So we've got the level 3 DSN, which is 158 gigameters or 158 billion meters, or 100 and, now I have to think here, is this now 15.8 million kilometers? Or is that now 158? No, that's 158 million kilometers. Okay, forgive my bumbling there. That's 14 million kilometers. So it's already 158 million kilometers, which is way too much. We don't need that. But now, if I'm just going to leave this, it will be here when we come back. Planning is so critical. So if we just have a look, our solar system is looking very interesting already, or at least our local system here. Now, the thing that I have to do, this is the first time I'm sending an interplanetary mission with KSP 1.2, so getting the whole antenna thing right is going to be important. Now if we just look at Kerbal orbits the Sun, or Kerbal, at about 13 million kilometers. So let's round it up to 14 just to be safe, or actually 13 would be... Anyway, no, let's just say 13.3. Let's just keep it like that. Whereas Eve orbits at 9.6 million kilometers. So obviously when the two are close together, you know, perfectly lined up, then it will just be 13.3 minus 9.6. So I guess around 4, which is not very far at all. But we have to count on the fact that Eve is going to be here on the other side, and by the time that we meet up with it. So what we have to do is we actually have to add 9.6. So here I want to just add it, round it up to 10, and say round that up to 14. So 14 plus 10 is 24. So, and we know this is too much because I rounded it up. So 24 billion meters, or 24 gigameters, or 24 million kilometers. So that's the max range that our antenna will have to reach. However, I think we can get away with a bit less, because I rounded it up a bit. So we that's a 700 and a 400, so it's more than 1 million kilometers too much. But more than that also, by the, let's say we launch there now, I'm just using an example. By the time that we meet Eve on the other side here, presuming of course that our planning is actually accurate, Kerbal will have moved a little bit, so it will actually be closer already than its maximum. So we can just keep that in mind. So now, what does all this mean? If we just have a look, and there's 2 antennas per class here, they could arrange this a bit better, I guess. So we get the lowest ones, of course, and they will not work for us. Their maximum range is 35,000 kilometers, which is nothing compared to what we need. Then we get the second level or second tier of antennas, which is, well, first you get this one, which is sort of on its own. It has 1.12 gigameters or 1.1 million kilometers, which is again not enough, not nearly. Then we get a pair of antennas, which is it now? Yes, this unfoldable one here, which has a max range there with a level 3 of 22.4, and this one also 22.4. So they sort of are a pair, only this one doesn't extend, you know. Then we get the long range ones, and this is, or well, the medium range ones. This is 61.2, and that goes with that one, 61.2. Then you get the two long range ones, 158, 158. So they really go together. And this is again absolutely ridiculous. That's for our Voyager type of probes. Now I'm thinking, because we said it was about 24 gigameters that we'll need, it has to be these ones. Now they have a maximum range of 22.4 gigameters. Now I know again this could be a problem because it's not exactly enough, but like I said, I did round it up, and by the time we reach Eve, Kerbal should have moved a little bit closer from its maximum opposition. So I'm hoping this will be enough, because I don't want to overkill it, you know. We have to still try to progress. First this one, then the bigger one, and so on. So that means we have two choices. It's this one, or it's this one. And this one is not going to do, because this one, well, let's just put it like this one looks the closest like the picture, given the choice of the two, and we are only going to pick from these two. Now again, it's not exactly like the picture, but anyway, it's close enough for me. So we have to not put it here on the opposite end. It has to sort of go on an angle here. Let me just rotate it like that. It was sort of something like this in the image. Maybe there, like that. Now I think this antenna is a bit too small in relation to the Venera one, but it's given its range, it's the one for us. So let's see if I can actually move it a bit closer, just so that it can fit better into the fairings. There we go. I hope this one will work, but that doesn't look bad at all, in my opinion anyway. Now let's throw some science on this thing. Let's put a gravioli detector up here somewhere. Actually, I'm going to put it on, well, now I have to think, because we have, this won't really matter for the center of mass. But obviously you can clearly see, given that's the middle, it's on the right and slightly to the left. So it actually offsets the panels. So if we want to add anything, we really should do it up here on the left side. Just again to help the mass a little bit. So we'll put one of these like that. Something like that, so it looks like a camera or something. And then a gravioli, oh no, this is the seismometer, accelerometer thing. Like that. And what else? A barometer. Okay, just for the looks. Now this won't really work now. That will also just not quite look right. You can always throw a thermometer on here just for the sake of it, you know. There we go, something like that. So it does look like a sciencey satellite. I can maybe move this one a bit down. Oh no, I want it sticking out there. Okay, so that's the first phase of the Venera. The next phase is to put those thrusters on. Now we know they said they have nitrogen gas jets, so I'm guessing then obviously we'll need to put some RCS fuel on this thing. Now, how to best do that? Probably with the monopropellant things, but then somewhere inside the tank again. This gives us 60. It does weigh a little bit, you know. It's almost like the heaviest thing here. So we can actually use this to correct the center of mass. So if I put, I'm just going to put 1. I think 1 will be enough. I hope so anyway. So then it doesn't matter where the center of mass is in terms of the up and down axis. It's more important where it is in terms of the, what is this, the x-axis or the y? The up and down is the y, I think. Something like that. If I just look at this part in the middle, more or less in line with that thingy there. Then here again it's too much to the right side. It will help. It will certainly help, and we have a bit of a reaction wheel in this probe, so it will also help. So there we go. I think that will certainly just make it a bit easier. The next phase will be to, now I'm wondering, those panels when they rotate, they're not going to hit the dish, are they? I know they won't anyway, they're sort of physics-less, I guess, but I don't want to have it clip in there. So let's just retract them. Once they're deployed, they're deployed. And now the jets. So I'm not going to put a big engine thing on this. I don't think that will really work. If we just go again to this, to the images here, let's see if we can find a picture of Venera from the bottom. No, I think that here's possibly something, but is this now the right thing? It's got sort of a rounded part that protrudes a bit there. Yes, so it's not just flat like ours is. It's a bit of a round, and you know, I know exactly what that should be. They don't show anywhere where the jets are, or the RCS systems. So let's see if I say diagram. Okay, I might have bitten off more than I can chew. Now what is this thing? Venera 2 and 3. No, we're not there yet. Okay, this is just a bit of improvisation. So I'm thinking if we just want to make it rounded off, that will be the way to do it. I think that's the right thing to do. So now on the bottom here, I'm just going to put, again, I don't know how many there should be because it's impossible to tell and we don't have all the data. So let's put 4 of them down here. Then in terms of the attitude controls, I wonder, is it really necessary? Because, but I must say that looks very nice. Because we have the reaction system there. Because then where would I put them? Somewhere like here perhaps. I guess so. It won't interfere with the panels. It shouldn't anyway, I think. So this one I'm just going to move a little bit in. Oh no, actually no, then it starts clipping in there. So that will have to do. There we go. So this is our Kerbalized version of Venera 1. So I'll just rename this Venera 1. And save. Now we have to just get the rocket back, and actually I'm just going to open the Luna 4 and merge. So let us use, okay, there's a whole lot of things that need to change right now. And the first thing is the decoupler. That one just has to fit there now again without, you know, shooting the thing off when it releases it, which may happen. because it will be slightly clipping into those RCS thrusters. That should help, and it still looks nice. Anyway, if it does, it does. We have a bit of a advantage now because we have more control. So there, that's that. Now we need the upper stage, because in the picture the fairing actually covers the probe and the upper stage, not like this one anymore. So I need to basically redesign the whole thing. Let me turn that off. So that doesn't quite, you see, it always floats there. But before I do that, let's just adjust the strength back again to 4 or something, or even less, 2, because when this detaches, it will certainly change the orbit to Eve, and I don't want that, because even a small change will have a big difference. Then we'll just put it like that. That looks still structurally sound. It just connects right there in the middle. And that then is our upper stage. So now we have to get the fairing business correct. And another one of these decouplers. And I'll put this one on 50% because it won't have such a big impact, because the upper stage here, or the how can I say, the payload is a bit heavier than before. Or maybe a quarter. Something. 19. It doesn't matter. Now the fairing. And here it is going to be difficult because of this thing sticking out here. I mean, the obvious thing is just to make it massive. But that's going to look very, very bizarre, to be honest. So actually, I'm going to just make it decent and hope that it accepts that it clips a little bit there. Yes, it doesn't seem to cause a problem, so forgive me for that. It just has to. I need to not make it look really bizarre, you know. So that's our upper stage, or how can I say, this is not actually our upper stage, this is our trans stage, or planetary injection stage. I can just throw this thing away, and then we need an upper stage for injecting this thing into orbit now. So what would really look the best? Now this one is too long. And I know they must be engines and stuff, but you can see that's looking way too long. So let's take a shorter one. That one possibly. So it will sit somewhere there. Maybe a bit longer than that. I think that works. I know again the fairing looks completely too big for the rocket, but anyway, we do what we can, you know, we do the best that we can. So this one seems to work for me. Now we have to put 4 engines on this stage, and I think that's where things are gonna get really difficult. That's where things are gonna get difficult. We can do it again with the sparks maybe. And I'm not sure now if it should sit like this or like this. It doesn't matter, so let's put it like this. No. So the problem with this is it's going to be very overpowered. I think it will be anyway. 1.4 is not bad actually. If that's true. It should be, yes. So 1.4 thrust to weight is not bad. We can always downrate the engines a bit, which would be reasonable because it can't be exactly the same as the first stage engines. Let's do it by 50%. That's better. Much better. It's quite low, but there's something we need to add. Now where was that again? Here. You see, in between them you have these small attitude or control jets again. So these ones must not gimbal again. And for this I'm not going to use the spiders anymore, because they sit on the outside here, and it's very much like the interplanetary stage. So let's use the ants if they will fit there. I think that works. Now, what about the strength? In a vacuum, the max thrust is the same, 2 kilonewtons and 2 kilonewtons, so we won't lose any maneuverability compared to the spider. So I think that will do for that. Now we need to have again a decoupler here. This won't work. It's too big, and anyway we're gonna have a bit of a trouble with this one, but I think again it is manageable, just because there's so many attachment points here and we really only want the one in the middle there, like that. Let's just see if we can move it down again. Okay, it looks possible. Okay, this is totally out of control. Then move this up, or actually can this move down? Then this moves up more. There we go. Now we just put the struts back on. Now how shall this work? This is always a thing, it is always a balance between making them look nice and actually getting the thing to work properly. So let's do it in 4s. Let's just say like that. But now you see it's gonna stick out there and look horrible, and now what have I done? No, it mustn't be angled like that. That's always the challenge. No. Okay, I can work with that. No, man, what am I doing? I just want to pick the struts. Now it has to be slightly angled. And try to meet up with those again without sticking out of the side like that. Here we go. So that's one pair. Now we still need to do maybe at least one more. Again, I don't want to put anything on the top. It all has to attach to the bottom, which now becomes more difficult because it's not really possible to put two struts in the same place. This will not do at all. You see, it just drops it if I try and put it there. So maybe it is inevitable. I have to put it on the top. And then that looks horrible. Let me come back to you as soon as I figured this one out. Okay, I think I found a decent-ish solution. And all I did was to place the second pairs of struts inside the other ones, and then they meet up there. So it's not exactly the same, but from the outside it looks pretty decent. So let's try and make that work. Just move all this other stuff out of the way now, and then very important, no, what am I, no, I just wanted to grab the whole thing just to check the staging. Very, very critical. So already there are some mistakes here. So after, let's just move this there, and yes, after, okay, all of them fire. Then after the booster separation, that one separates and fires at the same time. Then probably, I'm wondering now when the fairing release should be. Should it be before that point or after that point? And there's a very specific reason I'm wondering, because with such a huge fairing, if it's still relatively low in the atmosphere, this thing is going to catch the air and flip over. But okay, let's leave it for the stage after that. We'll see how it goes, but again, I do have my suspicions. Then that separates, then the upper stage or final stage engines ignite, and then it releases Venera 1. So I'm saving this now as the R7. I know this is now the Molniya, but again it's based on the R7. Venera 1. Save, and let's hope for the best. It will take a long time to actually reach the right transfer window for Eve, so that will not happen in this video, I think. Let's just have a look at the clock here. Add a transfer now. That's the transfer window, Kerbal to Eve. 1 year and 110 days. That is not achievable. I'm going to have to fast forward, and that will take a while. So let's again just try with this tool. So that is year 2, day 350. That's even further away. No, I'm not going to wait that long. We'll just use this one again. So this is year 1, day 110. I wonder why that other one, I guess, is just slightly more optimal. Oh well, close that. And let's just put it in orbit so long, because it has solar panels. And actually I'll wait for the day before I launch. You can just use, no I can't, because it's not Space Center view. Ah, there we go. So early morning launch for our first interplanetary and yes, I guess solar probe, because it will be the first one to leave the sphere of Kerbal. And good luck. Error, abort. Revert to launch. The second stage engines also ignited. So clearly having so many engines makes it very hard to check your staging. Okay, F5 this one. Now where was the problem? Because I saw 4 here and I thought it was enough, but it's no, there, but that's only the, is that the main one? I don't know, because we also have the smaller jets there, and they, I want them, there we go. in the right place. So now it should work. Again, second time, good luck. Now, let's be honest, this one is also a loss. And the reason for that is there was not enough fuel in the boosters and in the first stage. And you could see with the release of the boosters, one of the, I think must be a nose cone maybe, hit the core stage again. It just blows up. It doesn't affect the core stage. But that shows the aerodynamic forces are still too strong because they really interfere with the separation. So we just have to add more fuel to the lower stage. I really forgot to do that. So let's again revert to the assembly. So this mission is plagued by a few problems, but again, this is the first time we really add so much weight to this booster. So these must have max, and this one we just have to see now. Obviously the thrust to weight will be a lot lower, but this adds at least another kilometer per second to our delta V. So let's see if this one is any better. Save, launch. Now I'm not even gonna bother waiting for the day, so let's fly into the day. No! This is madness. This is the third fail. Because again I forgot to fix this. No, we have to fix these upper stage engines there. Okay, save again, now launch again. And I will forward to the dawn, why not? F5, and let's hope how many? Fourth time is the charm. Okay, couple of lessons for this rocket. I think it was a really bad idea to reduce the thrust on the upper stage. We almost, if you saw, we almost actually met up with our apoapsis for a time there, and we had to actually launch at quite a high angle away from prograde. But here we are, so it's in a terribly uncircular orbit, or, you know, it's a very elliptical orbit. But anyway, here we are. And the other thing I noticed was the ants don't actually have gimbal control, so we have to use the spiders. So I'm going to go back and fix those. But at least here we are. Let's deploy the panels. And let me just rotate it. Luckily, because this upper stage had a bit of a reaction wheel, that's how we steered the upper stage, otherwise it would never have worked. So there, that's it. I think that doesn't look bad at all. We just have to wait now, so we can do that in the next episode. In the meantime, I'll go back and fix that rocket there, just so that when I upload it to the Dropbox you don't have to struggle with the same issues. So until next time, I hope you're still enjoying, and let's see where this adventure takes us. Have a fantastic day.